Yo, what's good, everybody? RJ Sheldon here, episode 68 of Off the Top Show. You already know what we do on here. We talk about sports and current events through sports. Obviously, I hop right into it here. Obviously, this past Monday, Bills versus Jets. What a game. What a roller coaster of a game, right? Jets won that 22-16. But if you all watched that game, debut of Aaron Rodgers coming out in a Jets uniform, 4 plays in, injured. Boom. On the ground, can't get up. I saw it immediately. Oh, yeah, he tore his Achilles for sure. Sure did. As you see, obviously that calf just exploding. Only reason why I knew he did that is because I had a similar injury when I was, pursuing being a professional athlete, in football and things like that. But I feel so bad for him. Granted, there's a lot of Aaron Rodgers haters out there, but for people that are, get what he is for who he is on and off the field, you feel bad for guys to go ahead and do the right thing in regards of being there for his teammates, regardless of doing, you know, things needed team camaraderie or him just going ahead and giving New York, football excitement because he is a top quarterback in this league. Till he is, obviously in and not hurt clearly. We all know what Aaron Rodgers can do. We already know what he brings to the team. And you can tell with him obviously not being there, they came out and still won the football game. If we look at it here, um, just some stats and everything. Obviously, Zach Wilson had to come in and play. Didn't do bad. Obviously managed, the game. Granted, he did throw a boneheaded interception, but for him to be 14 of 22 from the field, 140 yards, and 1 touchdown, not bad for going ahead and doing what needs to be done after that dramatic loss of Aaron Rodgers. And then obviously Presall doing what he needs to do as well with running the football, 10 carries for 127 yards. Alan Lazar obviously being the kind of the helm guy, but we all know that Wilson's the helm there for that wide receiver core. He had 2 receptions for 46. And I believe obviously Wilson had a touchdown. I don't know the yards, but I'm sure he is up there in receptions as well. Let me just go ahead and check. Bear with me here. Yeah, Garrett Wilson, obviously 5 receptions, 34 yards, 1 touchdown. Dalvin Cook was catching the ball as well, 3 receptions for 26. And Presall obviously went for 20, so he had a day. Granted, they're skilled players, obviously getting the ball out, getting the ball to them and doing what needs to be done. But back, obviously, to more stats, within this game. This was a terrible game for Josh Allen. And I think we all need to go ahead and reevaluate Josh Allen after this performance. But he's been doing these boneheaded plays, making just dumb decisions on the field. And you can't do that, especially where your team is and who you have on your team and what division you're in. Your division's not easy. And this was a division game that you go ahead and lose, So this is not what you want out of your starting quarterback, out of the guy that gets talked that he's a top 5 quarterback. There's a lot of people that have Josh Allen in their top 3, excuse me, which is crazy to me. But after this performance, it was terrible. If I'm a Bills fan, you definitely need to be worried, on his play because this is unacceptable. 29 of 41 from the field, 236 yards passing, 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions. 3. Not 1, not 2, 3. I don't even know what to say. I mean, that is literally, if you want to be an elite quarterback, if you want to go ahead and be one of those guys that, is up there with the Patrick Mahomes, the Joe Burrows, and granted, those guys didn't play as well this week either. But if you want to be one of those top 5 guys, you need to start going ahead and figuring it out. And I think at this point, we've had talked about this earlier. I have, especially with Lip and all the guys that, come onto the pod. Stephon Diggs is definitely out this season. Granted, he had 10 receptions for 102 yards, 1 touchdown, doing his thing. But I think it's going to be all she wrote after this year. Whenever that contract year is up, Diggs is gone. I don't see, granted, yes, I know this is week 1, and I might be saying a lot, but after this game and losing to the Jets the way you did without Aaron Rodgers on the field, let's go ahead and credit, obviously, that defense for the New York Jets as well. I forget who it was. losing my voice here, which is insane. Let me see stat wise. Jordan Whitehead obviously came from the Buccaneers. Literally got $250,000 signing bonus in week 1 for getting 3 interceptions. Shout out to him. But those plays and a whole bunch more. I mean, DJ Reed, 10 tackles. Quincy Williams, 9. Mosley, 5. But D-line, linebackers, and on the back end, we're making plays. And that's what you want to see if you're a Jets fan. Obviously, just everything, the emotion. This is a great game to watch as a Jets fan and to win as a Jets fan. Obviously, we all know Aaron Rodgers is going to be out. I don't know if he's going to come back, but I think maybe the time frame of what's going on here, I think going ahead and giving his body obviously complete reset, because that's what's going to happen. You know, if you ever had an Achilles injury, for the people that have had it, that's a whole process. I mean, you got to go ahead and strengthen. You got to go ahead and trust it. So I think for Rodgers, it's going to be a lot of, getting whatever needs to be done for him to be close to 100%, because he's not going to be close to 100%. I mean, he's 39 years old, about to turn on 40, I believe. But it's sick to see a legend like that go down, especially with all the hype going on. I wanted to see him go one-on-one against Josh Allen. But speedy recovery, good brother. But this was a great win by the New York Jets, and especially in the division game. So that was for the Monday night. And then obviously tomorrow we got the Vikings versus the Eagles. This should be an interesting game. Granted, obviously the Vikings, this past weekend lost to the Tampa Bay Bucks, 20-17. I don't know what to expect. I mean, literally being at that game this past weekend, they got a lot of guys banged up on the offensive line. Hopefully those guys come back, because the Eagles D-line is no joke, and we know that Eagles defense is top 5 for sure in the NFL. You're going to see a lot of Slay play in cover 1. You might see a lot of guys. They might just play cover 1 all around and have, your athletes go ahead and beat our athletes, which I think the Vikings can. I think the biggest thing for the Vikings is they need to come out aggressive. They need to stay, foot on the pedal, and just make it simple. Jeez, I need to tighten up here. But yeah, just make it simple. I mean, you have some of the best athletes at the wide receiver position. You got a good quarterback in Kirk Cousins. I mean, you threw for over 300 yards within the first half. Clearly, we know you're trying to throw the football. But at the same time, it's going to be tough due to offensive line. But if everyone is back, everyone needs, everyone straps up, do what they need to do, and come out and do everything, every single play, execute, just as what Kirk Cousins says in his previous interview yesterday. If everyone executes and does what needs to be done, this is a pretty good football team. So I think it's just on both ends. It's not on offense, it's on both. I think being aggressive is what the Vikings need to be this year, regardless of the score. Regardless of what's going on, be aggressive, keep it simple, keep it stupid for guys to go ahead and just play free, because you have the athletes on your team to go ahead and do it. And then obviously over for the Eagles here, they won against the New England Patriots 25-20. Jalen Hurts was 22 of 33 from the field, 170 yards, 1 touchdown. Kenneth Gainwell, obviously 14 carries, 54 yards. A.J. Brown, and obviously all the guys that they got at that wide receiver position. He had 7 receptions for 79. This is going to be a tough game, obviously, going into Philly. Philly's a tough place to play. The Eagles are tough at home. You know what they got on both sides. For the Vikings, they need to go ahead, get off on third downs. They need to make some type of chaos, in that backfield for making Hurts to go ahead and make decisions quick. Back end obviously needs to go ahead and make plays when they're presented. Linebackers, need to fly around and make plays, because this could either be a good game or this can be a very ugly game. But, when it comes to NFC, North, I'm taking any NFC North out of the team. Obviously, I'm out of sight of another division. So I got the Vikings obviously taking this one in a close one. I got this one 27-24. But yeah, it's interesting to see what goes down. I'm excited to watch kind of what the Vikings do off basically losing at home. Are they going to bounce back and play hard and do what needs to be done? And I'm also excited to see what the Eagles do, because the Eagles are not coming, to mess around. Their D-line, I'm waiting to see a lot of those guys do their things. They got some rookies in there. Obviously, the guy that they drafted first round out of Georgia, I'm ready to see him do his thing. And I think, there's a lot of opportunity on both ends for guys to go ahead and do their thing and to go ahead and make plays. From a Viking standpoint, though, I'm ready to see you guys do what needs to be done and go ahead and put yourself in a position to win, because too talented on that team not to be going ahead and winning ball games. So that game is tomorrow, prime time. I think it's probably like 7:30 or 7. But like I said, to conclude that, I got the Vikings beating the Eagles 27-24. And then moving on over to the USA basketball team. They played, obviously, this past weekend. Forgot to talk about them on Monday, but we're bringing it up now. If you did watch that game was crazy. Granted, Canada won 127-118. It was in overtime. To go into overtime, there was a lot of crazy shots that were hit. Bridges missed a free throw, got in the corner, hit a three to go ahead and to get it tied up. And then Canada inbounded the ball and almost had an opportunity to hit like a half quarter and almost went in. But then OT came. And boy, oh boy, did the U.S. team get exposed in the OT period. Only scoring 7 points. Canada scored 16. To go ahead and just go over, obviously, total stats here. Anthony Edwards had 24 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Austin Reeves had 23 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist. Bridges, like I said, had 19 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. Brunson had 13. Hart had 10. Bobby Portis had 14. But they weren't really, like I said, you can see when I said in the OT, only scored 7 points. That's not good at all. But let's go ahead and go over and talk about this Canada team here. Because this was a I am that player type of game by Dylan Brooks. This man had 39 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. And throughout the whole game, he was hitting shots, tough shots, baseline, floating away, hitting a little bunny or a runner, hitting consistent three-corner pockets, on the floor, getting to his spots and making shots. He was very effective on both ends. And I think his confidence coming out of this, obviously, bronze medal to head into the NBA season, heading over to the Rockets, I think he's definitely going to blossom into a player, that's going to be talked about and that's going to have a good season in a good career in the NBA on both ends. Not just one guy that plays defense and guy that, talks shit, goes ahead and does what needs to be done, in his role. But I think his role is going to expand, because what I saw in these highlights, he looked like he was trying to get in that offensive bag too, because we already know he's locked on defense. So shout out to him for going ahead and doing what needs to be done. But Mr. Killer down the stretch, shout out Gillis Alexander, SGA. I mean, you want to talk about him overtime, immediately getting active, immediately calling for the ball, getting to his spots, hitting tough shots, closing games out, especially down the stretch there when they went ahead and I think it was maybe in the fourth quarter too, but he was hitting, getting to his spots, ball handling, cash. Looked like he's been doing this for a very long time to close games out. And he did that this past season, in certain games where he would go ahead and take over the game. I'm excited for both of these guys to have a huge year this year when it comes to the NBA. I think SGA is going to be one of those guys that's going to be in that top 3 for scoring, top 5 for sure. He's definitely going to be a all-star. I think an all-star. I think he was an all-star this past year. Could be wrong, but I think I'm right. But I love his game and I love what he's doing. His bag is crazy. And I expect him to do big things, especially with that OKC team. And then for Dylan Brooks, man, I'm excited to see what he does. I think his potential is very high after watching this, this game. What they're going to do in Houston, I think what's going to, what they see or what the vision is for him, I think is definitely going to fit, that organization. He's going to be there for a long time. But shout out to those two, obviously, for Canada. And then obviously for the U.S., man, Anthony Edwards. And I really feel Anthony Edwards and Austin Reeves definitely carried this USA team. You saw a lot of great glimpses out of both of them, obviously playing the game that they play. Anthony Edwards obviously doing one-on-one, getting the mid-range pull-up, and also taking guys, to the basket, which he needs to do every single time that he touches the ball. Once he figures that out, it's game over, I feel. And then obviously Austin Reeves, his IQ on the floor is unreal. He knows when to attack, what to do in certain situations in offense, and he can put the ball in the basket. So those are really the two guys that kind of really held the U.S. together throughout this whole, FIBA World Cup, or if you want to go ahead and however they do it or say it. But those two definitely did their thing, and I'm excited to see what goes on when the NBA season comes, which is on the way. So shout out to both those guys, both sides for USA and Canada. It was definitely a great game to watch. And then last but not least here, we can't go ahead and not get off and not talk about WNBA. Starts today. Tonight, actually, game one. Obviously, we got the Suns versus the Lynx here. Almost just blanked out on their name. That's horrible. They play at 7. And then I think another game is Sky versus the Aces, obviously at 9 p.m. So we got one at 7 and one at 9 p.m. I'm going to be tuned in and locked in, and we're going to go ahead and definitely speak about that on here when it comes to who, is holding that trophy. So short and sweet to you guys on a good old Wednesday. Hopefully your week is going good. Continue to be the best you can be. Strive to be the best you can be. And I'll see you Friday. Peace out.